baby, let's go. Alabama anthem. Go throw your hands up. Put up your onion. I ain't talking about it laughter. I'm talking about the ham. I'm talking about the bill. A-L-A-B-A-M-A. This what I live. Alabama while I was born. Alabama where I'm from. Alabama anthem. Go throw your hands up. Put up your onion. I ain't talking about it laughter. I'm talking about the ham. I'm talking about the bill. A-L-A-B-A-M-A. This what I live. Alabama while I was born. Alabama.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Christian Ballard, Ballard Sports Media, coming at you finally with the first of many. Hold on. Computer's acting up. Technical issues. Wait for it. All right. Sorry about that. First of many tidal wave talks where we preview each week during the college football season the Alabama Crimson Tide football game. And this week is the number one Alabama Crimson Tide going up with no record against a 1-0 Utah State. And I'm looking forward to it. It's a great time of the year, college football. We've kicked off the season, but of course, my team, the Alabama Crimson Tide, has yet to do so, but they will do that this Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on the SEC network. When you look at this series all time, Alabama leads it 1-0. Met back in 2004 in Tuscaloosa. Under Mike Shula, the Tide won 48-17. This via Winsipedia.com. Want to quote sources there. We get back to this here, and you look at this upcoming game. This will be a really, really good game, right? You look at the quarterback matchup. Bryce Young versus Logan Bonner, Alabama. Last year, the national champion runner-up, lost 33-18 to Georgia. I credit you guys. Congratulations, Dog fans, on your national championship. Alabama finishes 13-2. Of course, Blake Anderson, the Utah State head coach, 10-3 in his first year last season in 2021. Nick Saban, we know all about him. There's no need to really go into details about that. 200-plus wins. Or 100-plus wins, whatever it is by now, and 7 national championships, the most of any head coach in college football history. Want to look at, when you look at Alabama and Utah State, they're really not on the same level, but they do have really good players. And what I did see, because again, week 0, Utah State played. They played a really, really good game against UConn. And did they shock me by winning the game? No. Utah State's always been pretty good in the Mountain West. They won 31-20 over UConn. And they had Logan Bonner, the quarterback, 281 yards. Calvin Tyler, who's going to be a key player for him, 161. Brian Cobb's the receiver with 78 receiving yards. So when you look at it, and we'll get into more of that later on, right? You look at the quarterback matchup. Bryce Young versus Logan Bonner. Bryce Young, the Heisman winner, defending Heisman winner of last year, of course. Logan Bonner, nowhere near the talent level of Bryce Young. That's not a knock against Logan Bonner. I think that he looked pretty good. Logan Bonner is a really good quarterback. I think that, he could put up some stats, put up some good numbers, in college and maybe even in the future when he gets to the NFL. Of course, this year, a senior from Rowlett, Texas, 6'1", 230, had a 69 completion percentage against UConn, had 281 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. Logan Bonner did pretty good. Okay. Let me just say this. Let me say it like this. We want to kind of make this one all about Alabama and their opponents. I got more notes on Alabama than I do Utah State, right? When you look at this, and again, I mentioned Alabama leads this series 1-0. They've only met one other time. Met in 2004 under Mike Shula for the Crimson Tide. The Tide won 48-17. And again, I get that via Winsipedia. But let's not look at the past too much. Let's look at this year. Let's look at this season. That's what this whole show is about. And we want to go ahead and dive in to this game here. So Alabama has a 99.3% chance to win, giving Utah State a 0.7% chance to win. So ESPN matchup predictor looking at a 1-0 over a winless team in Alabama. I don't know how else to say it. They haven't played a game yet. The 1-0 doesn't matter. You're going to go to Tuscaloosa, and Utah State, just going to be honest, you're going to get your tail whipped. The spread, by the way, is 41. What is 41.5? Okay. So they've raised it since I put this up for you guys. But either way, they favor Alabama big time. I do expect Alabama to win this game. Do I expect them to cover? Yeah, I expect them to cover. You know, the 3 key players that I would look at for each of these teams would be, you look at Alabama, Eli Ricks, a cornerback, LSU transfer, very fast, versatile, a guy that wants the ball. He stays close and on top of his receivers. He goes up, he gets the football, he does his job very, very well. So Eli Ricks, again, I mentioned very fast, versatile player, guy that wants the football. I think he's definitely going to be a leader of the secondary. And this could change every single week. We'll do 3 key players for Alabama. It might not be the same 3 every week. I'm just going off based on what I've heard this offseason, the leadership, and everything that I've heard about the Crimson Tide football team. Number 2, and this was not an easy 3 guys to pick. There's so many guys, and we'll talk about them. But I'm actually curious to see Tyler Harrell, Louisville transfer, amazing speed, amazing route runner. You look at a guy like Tyler Harrell, and coming over to Alabama, of course. Why Alabama? Because guys like that know they're good enough to go out and win a championship. 6'1", 175, a junior wide receiver, by the way. 18 receptions last year, 523 yards, 6 touchdowns. He averaged 29 yards a catch. That's pretty good, and he's got really great speed and agility. I think he could be an NFL talent someday on some team for anybody wherever he goes to play. But Tyler Harrell, I think, could be a standout guy this weekend for the Crimson Tide. So I put him in number 2. And then number 3 on the list, Dallas Turner, 14 tackles, 8.5 sacks as a freshman. Yes, we know about Will Anderson. Will Anderson is the leader for the defense of Alabama. We understand that. But, you look at it, Dallas Turner's going to break out. Again, I mentioned 14 tackles, 8.5 sacks as a freshman. Just a freak athlete. So I do think Alabama's going to have the Will Andersons, Chris Braswell's, Byron Young's. I think that they're going to have those players, but Dallas Turner, I think, could really light it up this year in college football and in Tuscaloosa for the Crimson Tide. So, that being said, those are the three players. So the three players, Eli Ricks, Tyler Harrell, and Dallas Turner for Alabama. When I look at Utah State, I almost said UConn because I have that in my notes here. I look at Calvin Tyler Jr., who already has 161 rushing yards this year on 33 carries for the Aggies of Utah State. He had 33 carries, 161 yards against UConn on Saturday. Great burst and acceleration, a fighter in coverage when I see him. Brian Cobbs is another guy. 78 receiving yards for him. 7 receptions. He had a touchdown. They had a couple guys with only one touchdown. Nobody really caught multiple balls on Saturday. And then I look at MJ Tafisi, who had 10 tackles on Saturday for the defense, 4 on his own, 6 assists, no sacks for the team. Again, there's not really much to say for Utah State and these players. You can go off the stats so far, and that's kind of what I'm basing Utah State on. I'm basing Alabama based on what I've heard in the preseason and what the hype's been about. With a guy like Tyler Harrell coming in, a guy like Dallas Turner, and a guy like Eli Ricks, 2 of those guys transfers. One of them committed and signed with Alabama last year. Dallas Turner did, and did really good as a freshman. So I mentioned those guys being the 3 players to watch for each team. We'll do that every single week. I'm excited for the Texas game next week, but let's keep focus on Utah State, right? And I mentioned Blake Anderson, the Utah State head coach, 10-3 in his first year last year, and we know all about what Nick Saban has done. I really don't have anything else much to say. Again, I mentioned it's a 41-point spread for the Alabama Crimson Tide in their favor, and I don't really know what else to say other than it's going to be a great game to watch. If you're an Alabama fan, if you're a Utah State fan, keep cheering on your Aggies. Have hope. Don't give up hope on your football team ever, no matter who you're playing. Upsets happen all the time in college football. You never know. If Alabama doesn't want to show up, they don't show up. But Nick Saban doesn't play like that. Focus on the process rather than the outcome. Go get the job done on Saturday, boys. I got to crop that. All right, prediction time. The spread is 41 points. Alabama. Do they cover? That's the big question. We know they're going to win big. They're going to put up some points. The defense is going to be strong. Guys like Chris Braswell, Will Anderson, Dallas Turner, get up in your face. We know that. We expect that. We understand that. How much is the offense going to put up? That's the question. I go ahead and I throw my score prediction up there. I want to hear from you guys in the live chat as this video is premiering for you. I go ahead and I throw this at you. 58-14. I really think it's going to be a blowout. I think Alabama's back to winning the games by 50 points this year. I think the offense is going to be electric. I think Ja'Cory Brooks, Jermaine Burton, Tyler Harrell, so many different wide receiving weapons for Bryce Young. I do expect the Alabama offensive line to get back at it this season. Was not very impressed with it last year. Inconsistency all the way around. You got James and Tommy Brockemeyer. Javion Cohen comes back. Darian Dalcourt, Emil Ekiyor, Damian George. You got all these seniors and juniors for the Alabama Crimson Tide on the offensive line. The big boys up front going to protect Bryce Young in this game, allow him to kill time in the pocket. I would not be surprised, and I don't say this as a homer, I would not be surprised if Alabama goes out there and is scoring on every possession against Utah State. And Utah State looked pretty good in week 1. But that's not Alabama. This is Alabama right here. This is your game. This is the one. UConn and Alabama are not the same. Two completely different teams in conferences and style of play and every level. You're talking about going up against the champions. You're talking about going up against Nick Saban. I say 58-14, my final score, and that's that. So anyway, I love you guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to do this every Friday for you guys, or record it throughout the week and premiere it on Fridays for you guys. And we'll do Texas next week. We'll have a little bit more insight on Alabama after this upcoming Saturday and what they do in week 1. And, of course, again, like I said, more insight that we can have for next week's game against Texas. Please like, comment, and subscribe right here to Ballard Sports Media for more sports content. And until next time, folks, Ballard Sports Media checking out. Love you guys. Appreciate it. Roll Tide. Woo!
Baby, let's go. Feel my anthem. Don't throw your hands up. Put up your aim. I ain't talking about it last till I'm talking about the ham. I'm talking about the deal. A-L-A-B-A, you make it. This what I live. Alabama, while I was born. Alabama, where I'm from. Feel my anthem. Don't throw your hands up. Put up your aim.